How's it, guys? My name's Ollie and I work in a vape shop and I like to build coils. So what I thought I would do is I would like start a little YouTube channel basically showing you how I build tips and tricks, some of the new tanks, some of the old tanks. So yeah, how to build them, how to wick them. I know there's a lot of guys that get confused. I mean, obviously working in a vape shop, I get a lot of guys coming in, they've got a hand-me-down, or they've got a tank from a friend, or they just want to get into rebuilding, but they don't know the first thing about doing it. So that's why I thought I would do this, just to help the masses out there. So what I'm going to do for my first one is I'm actually going to do my Wotofo Serpent. This is like a newish tank. It's still fresh on the market and stuff like that. It's a very good single coil tank. But yeah, I'm going to show you my favorite build for it. I mean, I've done a good couple of builds on this thing, and yeah, let me show you how to build it, how to wick it, why I build it the way I do, and all that jazz. So yeah, okay guys, so for this build what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using some 24 gauge nichrome wire. I've got one of these little burning tab 5-to-1 tab things, but obviously, I mean, if you don't have one, you could use one. You could use it on your mod. Just make sure your mod's locked when you're busy fiddling and playing or whatever. But I've got one of these, so it's like some Kojendo cotton, because it's just, I like it a lot. And yeah, some of these little clippers, some scissors. I use this screwdriver here to place my coils. It's a 3mm. This is going to be a 3mm ID bolt. And then ceramic tweezers. I've got one of these little dentist pick hook effort guys, and little flat. Okay, and yeah, so let's go to the build. By the way, here's a quick edit. I was being a douche. I thought the posts were going to be a little flat screw. Turns out they're one of these little Allen key things, and this is the one that I got with the Serpent. So scrap that thing. If you've got a little Allen key, use one of these. Use this thing. This thing's actually epic. So yeah, there's the edit, the fail edit. Okay, so the build I'm going to do today is a parallel, a single parallel 24 gauge nichrome bolt, 3mm ID. It should come to about, I don't know, in between 0.21 and 0.24, somewhere around there. I do get variances every now and again, but it starts off 2 pieces of wire and a little 3mm screwdriver. And I just want to show you guys how I actually wrap these parallels. What I do now, obviously, because we're building on the Serpent, this thing's got like a, I don't know, you almost have to wrap the wrong way. Like I wrap over, okay, but with a Serpent you have to wrap under, if that makes sense. It's just so when the coil's done, you got one lead on the one end facing in this direction and the other one facing in this direction. So when it fits, when you slot it into these 2 posts, because the posts are angled like this, okay, so when you fit it into these posts, it fits better. Well, yeah, it's kind of the only way that it's going to fit. But I'm going to start these wraps now. So what I do, this is how I wrap parallels, is I'll take the first one, I'll grab it, I'll wrap under, and then I wrap pretty close to each other, okay, but not on top of each other, because I want to leave a small little gap there for the next piece of wire. So I'll wrap a single coil first. I'm going to do 6 wraps for the first one, okay, and then the next one I'll just slot in between. That's 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and yeah, I'll also pull out this first wrap, because I'll use that one. Pull out this first wrap because then it's always just a little bit neater. So then I've got my 6 wraps. Okay. Then I'll get my second piece of wire. Okay, which is this guy over here, and I'll basically slot it in between. But now with this one, I actually only do 5 wraps, and the reason I do that is because it almost it's almost the same as, you know, these guys with these staged builds. So they'll have a thicker gauge wire, you know, with a thinner gauge wire. So the thinner gauge wire will heat up a lot quicker to heat the bigger, to heat the thicker things. Like, you know, like if we're using 24 and 20, 24 is going to heat the 24 up. But now this is kind of, it's kind of similar. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of similar, because what I do is I wrap on the inside and then I leave. So it's going to be 5 wraps on the inside and 6 wraps on the outside, if that makes sense. So the inner wire, this second wire that I'm putting in now, is going to have a slightly lower resistance than the outer wire. And I don't know how well it's going to pick up on the camera, but when you actually dry fire it for the first time, you can almost see that happening. You can see the staging happening. Okay, so let's just wrap the second one quickly, just in between those gaps that I made before. Okay, and that is now a completed parallel coil. Okay, oppositely wrapped. Then what I'll do is I'll just grab my little pliers here, give them a tug, just to try and you know, tighten them up, tighten those coils up. And then so I've done that side. Let's do this side over here. Let's grip and pull. Next one, grip and pull. Okay, and that's already looking a lot neater. Oh, yes, there's a gap here that's irritating me, but we'll fix that now. Okay, so there we go. There we've got 2. Well, it's already looking a lot better. Okay, I'm going to zoom in now. Well, actually, what I'm going to do, let me do this first. Let me just clip that excess off over there. Clip some excess off over here. Okay. Let's zoom into this bad boy. Okay, now you'll see where these post holes are. There's like one here and then like one here. So the way I've wrapped it, it's going to slip in there quite nicely. Okay, so what I like to do, or you know, probably how it just should be done, is I slip the back one in first. I feel more comfortable like that. So I'll slip the back one in first, like that, and then when this one is when I've got it, I push it all the way up against this post. So you'll check over there. Then what I do is I'll measure the distance, like I'll measure this one, and I'll go, oh, okay, cool. I cut it like almost flush with that. Just give it a quick snip. Okay. Then I'll grab my tweezers. Okay. Bring this around. Now you almost have to bend this coil, but I bring it around. I grab my tweezers like that, and then I pop it in. Check the wires coming through. Can you see the wires? Yeah. Okay, so that's basically it. Then that shorter one that I've clipped, let's tighten that screw down, or that post screw, grub nut, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Cool. So that one's nice and tight. I'm going to grab my little pliers again and just give it a tug on this side, just to. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reverse the screwdriver around. It'll be a little bit easier. Okay. So then, just pull it tight. Okay, there's one, move it to the side. Pull that one tight, move it to the side. Then let's tighten this bad boy as well. Come on here, you bastard. There we go. Sweet as. Now I can trim this off here, trim this excess. So too. Yeah, we got like a pretty reasonably looking coil there. A reasonable looking coil. Okay. I just want to make sure this thing is centered nicely. There we go. And you know what? This wire is so flippin' resilient. I mean, you can flip and twist it and tug it and do whatever the hell you want with it. It's not gonna be an issue. Okay, so let's see what she's at here. This is 0.19. No, okay. Whoa. 0.19. Okay. 0.2, 0.19. Okay, I'm gonna fire this thing a couple times. Give it a couple of strums. I've got my little screwdriver here, so I can, if I need to shake it, I can shake it. Let's go. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, fire mode. 0.18. Oh, it's starting to glow nicely. Let me just give it a quick strum. Gee, look at that. Didn't even have to manipulate that guy. Well, I'll give it a pinch anyway, just for good measure. Just for good measure. Okay. See, now it's reading 0.23. Thought so. Hehe. 0.23, not bad, eh? Yeah, okay. So, I'm going to wait for this to cool down a little bit, and then we're going to wick it. Alright, so to the wicking. Okay, like I said, for wicking, I like to use Kojin. This is quite a big coil, and these channels are pretty big, so you're going to need quite a bit of wicking, because what I actually do is not drop my scissors. What I do is I actually put a tiny little bit inside the little channels, and then I allow the rest on top of the deck. What I found is, and the reason I do that is, what I found is if you just rest the wick on the deck, for some reason it floods just that little bit, and it starts starts spitting and what. So what I found, by putting just a tiny little bit of wick inside these little channels over here, I get a much better vape. I don't know if you have had the same, if you have witnessed the same, then I mean, just let me know. But I actually I'll cut like a fat section of cotton, because you know what, at the end of the day, this shit's so cheap. I mean, like, you can be a little bit wasteful, although this is not wasteful. I mean, at the end of the day, we want a good vape. So I mean, if you're going to be skint on the wick, then it's probably going to leak anyway, and you're going to waste juice. We don't like that. So yeah, that's about as much as I'll cut, and then I always pull off the sides. It's just because it's more like, for me, it's more like cotton bacon when you do that. And for tanks, I like cotton bacon. But Kojin stuff is fantastic, man. Alright, and you get this like kind of fluffy section. What I'll do is just give it a little bit of a fold and a roll. Okay, sometimes I even hold it between my hands, and I'll just do it like that. But today, this seems to be cooperating quite nicely. So, pinch the one end, pinch it good and tight, so you get like a little hard section, and we'll push this through. Boom, and that's it. That's it. Alright, now what I do, okay, is I'm going to do it like this. Okay, this wick obviously needs to lie on top of, where's my little hook? This wick needs to lie on top of this deck over here. Okay, so what I do is I'll bring it down. It's like you almost want to cut it just about there. Okay, just so that when you don't have to trim too much after you've, because essentially this is just going to lie like that. Okay, so you don't want to trim too much. Or you don't want to trim too little. You don't want to cut it over here and then have to trim it back. So I'm just gonna kind of just trim it kind of where I want it over there. Yeah, that's good. Okay, Okay, so that when it sits, this checkout's going to lie. Checkout's going to lie. It's going to sit just on top of it, and this little bit of excess is going to kind of go. It's going to go in there, but not as much. Not as much. I'll show you now. So let's chop the other side. Let's kind of bring this down and just go. There we go. And now, shit, that was a horrible cut. Okay, so now I've got my two little sections of wick. Okay, now this is when it starts getting a little bit tricky and what because you could quite easily balls this up, and this is like one of the most important ones. I'm going to use some this is not animal carnage. I'm just using this bottle, but it looks good. When you whip it out, people tweak and they go, "Oh my God, where the hell did you get that?" Yeah, this is Suicide Bunny Sucker Punch. I like it too. It's very delicious. So what I'll do at this point is, now that I've clipped it, okay, I'll just start wetting it a bit here. Start getting it a bit wet. Just what I like to do is I just lightly brush these wicks. Keeps them fluffy, you know. Keeps them fluffy. Keeps the. Put some on the coil. It just keeps them nice and fluffy, instead of like just dripping like a mad thing on top of them. I don't know. You can kind of shape them when you're doing this as well. It's also another thing that I do. Oh, got a little bit of a dry spot here. Yeah, that should do it, because I'm going to start trimming now. Okay, this crooked hook. I love this damn thing. This thing now, what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can do it like this. I can't really flip and see. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll bring this wick around, okay, and I like kind of just, I'll place it on the deck, okay, just like that. See how it's just sitting over there. Then this side kind of goes in there, but now I can already check that's just too much. That's too much wick. So I'm going to go and just, oh, I must actually zoom out for this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go, just snip off a small section. You don't have to snip that much, just a small little section. Now you'll see, can you see what's going on here? There's just a tiny little bit of wick in there, and the rest is lying on top of the deck. The rest is lying on top of the deck, and that's what you want. Now let's do this side over here. I'll bring this across with my little hook. Yeah, same vibe as the other one. Too much wick on the bottom, so I'll just snip some of that off. Like, not a hell of a lot. It's just that tiny little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? So that the wick. Oh Jesus, that's still too much. Okay, one more snip, pop. There we go. Okay, cool. So now what we've got is we've got this little vibe over here. So you've almost got like it looks like kind of like a tornado, like a whirlwind vibe, where you've got, I mean, your coil sitting like at a funny angle, and then you've got this stuff kind of doing that. Okay, it's sitting on the deck, and it's sitting on the inside of those little bits of channels. Okay, so that's kind of what it almost looks like a Z for Zorro. Zorro. Yeah, so let's fire this thing. Yeah, look at those. Look at those vapors. Now, yeah, 0.23. This thing here, we could fire at probably, I mean, I like it at about 45 to 50 watts, depending on the juice that I'm using. These, you know, slightly fruitier ones, like the Sucker Punch that I'm using, I prefer a lower wattage. It just tastes better. It just, for me, tastes better at a lower wattage. But when you got your custards and your creams and all your dessert flavors and stuff, obviously then, yeah, higher wattage. But yeah, pop the cap on, fill her up, and chat about it a little bit when we go top side. Okay, what's up? Here's the build we just done here, the Serpent. I've got it on my RX 200 rouleau, and yeah, 45 watts. I see it's come down to 0.22, so yes, it's delicious. It's such a nice vape. Like, and you know what? Why I showed you guys this build is because I've done a Clapton in here. I did a very big Clapton. I also did a 3mm. That 24 gauge Clapton with 32 gauge around it. But what I found is it just spits a bit much. Like it gets spitty. I think it's just because of the coil configuration where, you know, in a dual coil setup, you've got your poster mill, but your coils are sitting like on either side, and then your chimney comes on top of it. So when they, you know, obviously when those Claptons heat up and they do spit a little bit, it spits onto like the walls mostly, I don't know. This being directly in the center, so you've got your airflow coming from the center, your coil in the center, and your mouthpiece right above it. I just find that the Clapton spits a little bit. The flavor's still great, but I don't like juice in my mouth. So with this is a lot smoother. There's no spitting just because it's normal round wire. Yes, okay, there's not as much surface area, but I'm telling you right now, with a big build like this at a high wattage, you're not going to notice the difference in flavor. You're just not going to get juice in your mouth. So I don't know what happened with the end of my video, but I ended up losing the last little section. When I, you know, said cheers and did all my greetings and whatever. But yeah, I'm going to be releasing a couple of these every now and again, and if you've got any suggestions on stuff you want, just let me know, and I'll build them for you, and I'll wick them for you, and I'll vape them for you, and I'll show you how to do it. So, shot Oaks, check you on the next one. Laka. Wait. Let's do the classic sign off.